It's not that I didn't know this would happen, it's more like I didn't realize how it would feel. The pressure. The constant, never-ending pressure. It's like I wake up every day with this weight, this heaviness pressing down on my chest. I can't escape it. I try to, but the numbers don't stop. Rent. Bills. Groceries. Gas. Insurance. It's a cycle that never gives me a break. The thing is, I don't have someone to call and say, "Hey, can you help me out this month?" It's all on me. The money I make doesn't stretch as far as it should, and it's exhausting. I work full-time at a coffee shop, 40 hours a week. That's the good job I could get after I graduated last year. I've tried to stay hopeful, but if I'm being honest, hope feels like an old friend I don't see much anymore. I've heard all the motivational speeches about grinding and hustling, but no one ever told me how suffocating it could feel. How tiring it could get. I spend so much time doing the mental gymnastics of budgeting that I sometimes wonder if my brain is just going to shut down. I add up the numbers over and over, trying to make sense of it all. I need to pay rent, buy food, and still have enough left to put gas in my car. But when I look at my paycheck after taxes, it's like I'm watching the world I hoped for slowly slip through my fingers. It's hard not to feel a little broken when I open my bank app. The balance is always lower than I expect, and it's almost as if the universe is just reminding me of my place. The economy keeps shifting, inflation rises faster than my wages, and it seems like every month the bar gets set higher. I've had to say no to so many things in the past few months. I can't remember the last time I went out with friends without worrying about the cost. Even the little things, buying a coffee for myself, picking up a snack, just something to feel normal, become a decision I have to weigh. I remember when I used to dream of just going somewhere. Somewhere far away, out of this constant pressure, where I could catch my breath and be free for a few days. I used to plan these trips in my head, places I wanted to see, people I wanted to meet. But now? I don't even bother. It feels like my dreams are slipping away faster than I can hold on to them. It's like I'm stuck in a loop. Wake up, work, pay bills, repeat. I know I'm not alone in this, everyone around me is struggling too. But there's a part of me that still feels isolated. I don't talk about it much. No one really talks about how heavy it is, how much it wears on you. Sometimes, I think it would feel better if I could just let it out. But there's so much shame around it, like I'm failing. Like if I admit how hard it is, people will think I can't handle it. And yet, every day, I force myself to keep going. I get up and go to work. I pretend like everything's fine. Sometimes, I can almost convince myself that it is. But it's never fine. Not really. I have days when I just want to cry in my car on my lunch break. Or lie on my bed and stare at the ceiling, pretending the weight will just lift if I wait long enough. I tell myself that I'll be okay. That things will get better. That if I just keep pushing, if I just keep working, I'll find a way out. But the truth is, I don't know if I will. The reality is that no matter how hard I try, the gap between what I make and what I need to survive keeps growing. It's not like I can just get a second job, there's no room in my schedule for that. And even if I could, would it make a difference? I don't think it would. It's like the economy is a beast that's too big for any of us to tame. I try to keep myself grounded. There are little moments when I feel like I'm holding on to something, a spark of hope or a sense of purpose. When I see a friend, when I get a rare night off to sit in peace, when I laugh at something silly. But then I come home to a stack of bills or an email from my landlord, reminding me that rent is due. I can't even enjoy those moments because my brain is always 2 steps ahead, thinking about the next payment I need to make or the next expense that's coming. I used to dream about owning a house. Not even a mansion, just a small, cozy place where I could have a little garden and a space to call my own. But now? I don't know if that's even possible for me. I try not to think about it too much because it just hurts. It feels like the farther I reach, the further the goal gets. I thought the dream of homeownership was a given, something that would happen if I worked hard enough. But the cost of everything has outpaced what I can make. A house is a distant, unreachable dream. I'm still trying to figure out how to live in the middle of all this. I've learned how to make meals stretch, how to get by on less, how to make a dollar go further than it has any right to. I've learned that there's no shame in saying no to invitations or buying cheap snacks when I'm hungry. But there's also this part of me that feels like I'm losing pieces of myself, pieces I don't want to lose. It's not just about the money, it's about the way it shapes everything. The stress seeps into my relationships, into my mental health. Sometimes, I feel like I'm drowning in it. I try to remind myself that I'm young, that I still have time. I can't let myself forget that I'm still building something, even if it feels like it's crumbling around me. But some days, it feels like I'm just going through the motions, like I'm stuck in a cycle I can't escape. I wonder if I'm doing it wrong, if there's something I've missed, some magic formula I just haven't found yet. I hope that one day, I'll look back at all this and see it as part of a bigger picture. But right now, all I see is the struggle. I hope that maybe, just maybe, I'll find my way out of this system, this endless grind, and that I'll be able to breathe again. But for now, I take it day by day. I don't know what the future holds, but I can't stop hoping that one day, things will get better. That the pressure will ease, even just a little. Because that's all I want, a little ease. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I woke up this morning to the sound of my phone buzzing, a reminder that another bill was due. The app opened up to show a notification, your rent payment is due in 2 days. Great. Another reminder that I don't have enough money to cover it, yet here we are again. I let out a sigh, rolling over in bed. The anxiety rises as I mentally run through my list of bills and what's left in my account. The balance is low, barely enough to cover this week's necessities. I try not to panic. I can't afford to. I get up, make a cup of coffee, black, because it's cheaper, and sit at my kitchen table. I start scrolling through job listings, hoping something will pop up. I've been looking for a better paying job for months, but nothing seems to be working out. I thought by now, after graduating and getting into the workforce, I'd be on my way. But that's not how it's been. My expenses just keep increasing, faster than I can keep up. The student loans, the rent, utilities, groceries, insurance. The list goes on. Even when I do everything right, keeping my spending low, living modestly, it feels like the weight is always getting heavier. I'm 27 now. I'm supposed to be starting my life, building my career, moving forward. Instead, I feel stuck in a system that's rigged against me. I keep trying to push through, hoping things will get better, but every time I take a step forward, something else holds me back. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing. Everyone around me seems to have it together, friends buying homes, getting married, taking vacations. I'm just trying to keep my head above water. And that's starting to feel like enough of an achievement. It's exhausting. The constant mental strain of counting every dollar, wondering if this week will be the one I finally can't make it. I've had to put off so many dreams. I wanted to travel, explore new places, live in different cities. But every time I think about spending money on anything other than necessities, I feel guilty. Even if it's something small, like getting a coffee with a friend or going to a concert I've been dying to see. I've just convinced myself that I can't afford it, that it's irresponsible, that I have to keep sacrificing. There are days when I look at my life and feel nothing but frustration. I've been working full-time since I graduated, but somehow, I feel like I'm stuck in the same place. I was told that if I worked hard enough, if I did everything right, I'd be able to afford a nice life. But it's like I'm in a race where the finish line keeps moving further and further away. There are days when I just want to break down and cry because I'm tired of pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's not just the financial stress that gets to me. It's the emotional toll it takes. The constant worry. The fear that one day, I'll reach a breaking point. I can't remember the last time I didn't feel this knot in my stomach. Every time my phone rings, I feel a little jolt of panic, wondering if it's someone telling me there's been a mix-up with my payments or that I'm behind on something else. I've had to cancel plans with friends more times than I can count because I can't afford it. Sometimes, I'll even turn down a text from a friend asking how I'm doing because I don't want to admit that I'm struggling. And it's not just the everyday stress that's hard. It's the future. The future feels so uncertain. Every time I look ahead, I see an endless expanse of bills and obligations, and I don't know how to get out of it. I had so many dreams when I was younger, owning a home, traveling the world, maybe even starting a family someday. Now, those dreams feel like they belong to a different version of me, a version that wasn't caught in the trap of rising costs and stagnant wages. It feels like I'm stuck in a system that doesn't care about me. A system where your worth is tied to how much you can produce, how much you can earn, and if you can't keep up, you fall behind. I see people on social media talking about their promotions, their vacations, their new cars. It's hard not to feel envious. It's hard not to think, why can't that be me? But I can't afford to spend my time comparing myself to them. I have to remind myself that my journey is different, that everyone has their own pace. But some days, it doesn't feel like enough. I cope with it by doing my best to focus on the little victories. I've learned to take pride in the fact that I've managed to pay off some of my debt, that I've made it this far without completely breaking down. I try to find comfort in the small things, when I manage to buy groceries on sale, when I manage to put a little aside in savings, even when it's just $5. And I try to remind myself that this won't last forever, that eventually, things will change. But for now, I keep pushing through. I keep working, even though I'm exhausted. I keep hoping, even though it feels like hope isn't enough sometimes. I keep telling myself that someday, when I'm finally able to breathe, I'll look back on this time and know that I made it through. I'll look back and say, it was hard, but I didn't give up. But right now, it's hard to see beyond today. So, I continue to navigate this maze of financial pressure, hoping that one day, I'll be able to break free from it. Maybe I won't be able to afford everything I dreamed of, but I hope that someday, I'll at least be able to say I lived the best life I could with the cards I was dealt. For now, though, I just keep going. Keep working. Keep hoping. And try to hold on for one more day. I wake up to the sound of my alarm clock blaring, but it feels more like an echo than a call to action. Every morning, it's the same, that half-asleep moment where I try to bargain with myself for just 5 more minutes. But I know better. The clock's ticking, and I can't afford to waste time. The weight of bills, rent, and the looming anxiety about what comes next is always there, hovering like a storm cloud. I roll out of bed and glance at my phone. There's a notification from my bank app, reminding me that my paycheck has cleared. I feel a pang of relief, but it's quickly overshadowed by the reminder of the bills that still haven't been paid, credit cards, utilities, insurance. Every time I think I've caught up, the list grows longer, like some insidious game of whack-a-mole. The relief from the paycheck doesn't feel like a triumph, it's just the price of entry to this never-ending cycle. I head into the kitchen, making coffee in an attempt to shake off the fog. It's the only thing that makes me feel even remotely alive before I dive into another day of stress and calculations. Can I make it to the end of the month? I ask myself daily. Some days, I honestly don't know. I pull out a granola bar for breakfast, cheap but filling enough. I've stopped buying things like fresh fruit or eggs for breakfast, they're luxuries that I can't afford on my current wage. As I eat, I scroll through my social media feed. People seem to be doing okay, at least, that's what they want me to believe. Friends posting about vacations, new clothes, dining out at trendy spots, and weekends spent at music festivals. It all feels so far removed from my reality. I remember when I used to dream of doing those things. Traveling to new places, feeling the excitement of a spontaneous night out with friends, not calculating every cent spent. But somewhere along the way, those dreams faded. Now, I'm just trying to get by. The reality of the economic environment is crushing. Wages haven't kept up with inflation, and it feels like no matter how hard I work, I'm falling behind. Rent is up, groceries are up, gas is up, everything is up. My paycheck doesn't stretch like it used to. I've started picking up extra shifts at my job, but it's never enough. It never feels like enough. At some point, I stopped thinking about the future in terms of what I could do. Now it's just about what I can survive. I've been trying to stay positive. My friends tell me it's all about mindset, that things will get better eventually, but I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore. I used to believe in delayed gratification, that if I just worked hard enough, I'd eventually get to enjoy the rewards. But now, it feels like no matter how much I work or sacrifice, those rewards are just beyond my reach, taunting me. Every time I think I'm almost there, the goalposts move. I catch myself daydreaming sometimes, mostly during my commute to work or when I'm lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling. I imagine what it would feel like to live a life where I'm not constantly worried about money, where I don't have to make the same impossible choices every month. I imagine taking a vacation, not a staycation, but an actual trip where I can relax and not think about the cost of everything. Or maybe I'd go back to school, pursue a passion, something I care about, something that feels meaningful. But the voice inside my head, the one that's grown louder with time, always shuts those thoughts down. How would you even afford that, it asks. And I don't have an answer. The smallest decisions feel like life or death stakes. Should I pay for a cab to work this morning, or take the bus and risk being late? Should I spend the last of my savings on a new pair of shoes because the ones I have are falling apart, or do I try to make them last a little longer? My clothes are getting worn out, my car's been making weird noises, and I can't even think about getting a new one. If anything goes wrong, if something breaks or an emergency comes up, I'm done for. I can't afford to fix things anymore. I have days where I feel so utterly exhausted, emotionally and physically, that I can't imagine how I'll keep going. It's like treading water, just barely keeping my head above the surface, but never getting any closer to shore. I'm tired of the constant stress, of the nagging feeling that I'm not getting ahead, just sinking deeper. I've stopped talking about it with anyone. How do you explain to someone that you're drowning when they don't even see the water? Even when I'm with friends or family, I feel this barrier between us. They don't get it. They don't understand the quiet panic that comes with checking your bank account or the anxiety that settles in your chest when you think about what's coming next. Sometimes I'll mention it casually, like, oh, yeah, things are tight this month, but no one really takes it seriously. Everyone's struggling to some extent, right? I don't want to be a burden or bring everyone else down, so I keep my fears and frustrations to myself. The worst part is that I've had to let go of so many things I used to look forward to. I stopped making long-term plans. I used to think about buying a house, about investing in my future, about building something lasting. Now, I can't even plan for the weekend. When I go to sleep at night, I'm not thinking about where I'll be in 5 years, I'm wondering how I'm going to make it to the next payday. I've had to stop thinking about a future where things get better and just focus on surviving today, on getting through the next few hours without panicking. It's not that I don't have dreams anymore. I do. But they feel so distant now. They've become impossible to reach, like they're tucked behind a locked door, and I don't have the key. I want to believe that things will change. I want to hold on to hope that this won't be my forever. But each day feels like a reminder that the system is rigged in a way that makes it almost impossible to climb out of this hole. I try to cope in little ways. I try to find joy in small moments. Maybe it's the feeling of a good cup of coffee in the morning, or the way the sun shines through my window on a lazy Sunday. Sometimes I listen to music that reminds me of who I used to be before all of this, when I was full of hope and possibility. But even those moments are bittersweet, because they remind me of what I've had to sacrifice. I'm not sure what the future holds. I don't know if things will ever get better, or if I'll just keep pushing through, always a little behind, always a little out of reach of the life I dreamed of. But I keep going, because what else can I do? It's not about giving up, it's about surviving. And somehow, even when it feels like everything is stacked against me, I keep hoping that one day, I'll find a way out. I'll find a way to breathe again. Maybe that's all I can hold on to for now. It feels like every step I take leads me deeper into the quicksand. The weight of it, the pressure, it's always there, following me, no matter how much I try to outrun it. The worst part? I'm not sure there's an escape. Not now, not anytime soon. I'm 26, just trying to make it, really. I thought, when I graduated college a few years ago, that I had this plan. A clear path. I was going to work hard, climb the ladder, save up, maybe even buy a house one day. But it's like the rules changed without anyone telling me. It's like I'm playing a game, but the goalposts are constantly moving, and I'm stuck on the same level, no matter how many hours I put in. I wake up every morning with a pit in my stomach. I can't even remember the last time I woke up excited about anything. My first thought is always about money, how to stretch what I have, how to make sure there's enough to cover rent, utilities, groceries, and whatever else is due. I work a full-time job that barely covers the basics. And that's when I'm lucky. There are months when I have to dip into credit cards just to make ends meet, and then I'm back in this loop of barely treading water. The bills pile up, the interest keeps stacking, and I'm no closer to having a financial cushion than I was a year ago. It's a constant calculation in my head. How much can I spend today without feeling the weight tomorrow? I'll walk into a store, glance at something I need, like a pair of shoes or a jacket to replace the ones that have worn thin, and I'll feel that familiar sting of guilt, the thought that this is one expense too many. I'll leave without buying anything, but then a few days later, I'll be searching the internet for something secondhand, just trying to convince myself that I'm doing it right. But it doesn't feel right. It feels like survival, not living. I've stopped inviting friends out. I used to love going to coffee shops or grabbing drinks after work, but now? Every time, it's an internal battle. I could either go, pretend like things are okay, and rack up another $20, or I could stay home and try not to feel left out. Most days, I choose to stay home. Not because I don't want to see them, but because I can't afford the luxury of pretending everything is fine. I don't want to explain why I can't join in, or worse, I don't want them to offer to pay for me. I don't know how to tell them that I'm drowning, that I'm just trying to hold on long enough to get to something more stable. It feels like I'm stuck in a system that was never built for me to succeed. I'm working harder than I ever have, but it feels like the harder I work, the further away financial security gets. Rent keeps rising. Groceries are more expensive. Gas is through the roof. And don't even get me started on student loans. They hang over me like a dark cloud, always there, even when I've already maxed out every option for deferment. Every month, it feels like I'm just paying to keep from falling deeper into debt. I'm never making progress. I try to stay optimistic, to remind myself that this is just a phase. I remind myself that people do get out of these holes. But I'm starting to wonder if I'm just waiting for something that won't ever come. I've thought about picking up another job, working evenings or weekends, but I don't have the energy for it. I already feel like I'm constantly running on empty. The burnout is real, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm one bad day away from breaking down. The hardest part, though, is how much this has stolen from me emotionally. I used to have so many dreams. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to learn new things. I wanted to make art, maybe open a small studio. I thought I could balance my work and my passions. But now, it's all about survival. Dreams are for people who don't have to worry about whether their paycheck will cover all the bills, and I can't even remember the last time I had the energy to dream. I postponed everything, the road trips, the hobbies I once loved, the idea of living somewhere I actually want to live. Now, I'm just trying to figure out how to pay off my rent before the month ends. And even though I tell myself it's just temporary, that things will get better one day, I wonder if they really will. When the cost of living is growing faster than my income, what's the point of hoping for something better? Every time I think I've gotten ahead, I find a new fee, a new expense I hadn't planned for, and it all starts over again. It's not just the money that's wearing me down, it's the emotional toll it takes. It's the guilt, the fear, the constant anxiety that I'm just one paycheck away from falling apart. I don't know how to deal with the emotional side of it all. The stress has become so normal that I can't even separate it from my daily life anymore. It's just there, lingering like a background noise I can't turn off. I've stopped talking about it because I don't want to burden anyone with my problems. People around me have their own struggles, and I don't want to seem ungrateful. But some days, it feels like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. I see people online living lives I can barely imagine, traveling, going out to eat, buying new clothes, and I can't help but feel this gnawing sense of envy. It's hard not to feel like I've been left behind. Like I'm stuck in this hamster wheel, running as fast as I can but never really going anywhere. Sometimes, I try to imagine a future where things are better. Where I've paid off the credit cards, where I'm not drowning in debt, where I have enough to take a weekend trip or sign up for a class to learn something new. But the truth is, I don't even know how to get there. Every time I think I'm on the right track, something else pops up that sets me back. I've tried budgeting, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, but the costs of just living have skyrocketed beyond what I could have ever predicted. I've stopped feeling like I'm in control. I've learned to cope in small ways. I've found a comfort in routine, in knowing that the days will pass, even if they're hard. I try to be gentle with myself when I can't do everything. I've started telling myself that it's okay to be where I am, that I'm doing the best I can. But some days, that's not enough. Some days, the weight of it all presses down on me so hard that I can't breathe. I try to hold on to the hope that things will get better, but I don't know how long I can keep convincing myself that they will. I don't have all the answers. I don't know when this will get easier. But I keep going, because what else is there to do? I wake up, and I do what I can. I don't know how it'll end, but maybe one day, the weight won't feel so heavy. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see that I made it through. Until then, I'll keep trying, even when it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. I wake up with a pit in my stomach, as I do every morning. The sunlight filters through the blinds, but I can't quite feel it. I'm buried under a cloud of thoughts, mostly about money. Bills, payments, debts. The weight of it never really lifts. It's like a constant hum, always there, never going away. Every time I wake up, I can't help but wonder how I'm going to make it through another day. I roll out of bed, trying not to think too much. The last thing I want to do is spiral before my feet even hit the floor. But the minute I check my phone, there it is, another notification from my bank app. Another reminder of how close I am to the edge. My paycheck is gone, and it's only been 2 days since I was paid. I think about the groceries I need, the rent coming up, the bills that don't stop coming. It feels like I'm drowning, and the harder I try to swim, the more the current pulls me under. I get dressed, pulling on an old hoodie, the kind I've had for years. It's comfortable, at least. I head into the kitchen, making myself a cup of coffee. It's the only thing that feels normal. I've become accustomed to the rituals of life on a tight budget. A coffee in the morning, a small breakfast, and a lot of silence as I sit at the kitchen table and scroll through job listings on my phone. Every job search feels the same, frustrating. I know what I want to do, what I'm capable of, but every application I send out feels like a shot in the dark. There's no guarantee. And even when I do get interviews, the pay they offer barely makes a dent in what I need. I'm 26 now. I thought things would be different by this age. I was supposed to have it all figured out, finished school, landed a good job, and started building the life I always imagined. But instead, I feel stuck in a system where the expenses keep growing faster than my income. Every month is a balancing act, moving money from one bill to another, hoping that something will give me a little breathing room. But it doesn't. It never does. I check my bank account again, and there's just enough to cover the essentials. Maybe. I can't even enjoy the little things anymore. There was a time when I could go out for drinks with friends or buy a new book, but now I feel guilty doing anything that isn't directly tied to survival. And that's how I've been living, surviving. Not thriving, not enjoying life, just surviving. I think about the dreams I had when I was younger. I wanted to travel, to see the world beyond the bubble I grew up in. I wanted to take spontaneous trips, to explore new cities, to live in places that inspired me. Now, I can barely afford to leave my apartment. I remember talking about those dreams with friends when I was in college. We all had big plans, didn't we? But for me, those dreams feel further out of reach with each passing day. Every time I open my bank app, it feels like a punch in the gut. My income barely covers my rent and the bare essentials. Anything beyond that is a luxury I simply can't afford. I've had to postpone so many things. There's a concert coming up that I've been dying to go to, but it's not happening. I can't justify spending money on something that won't help me survive another month. There's a trip to visit family that I've been planning for a while, but I've had to push it back again. I know they understand, but it doesn't make it any easier. The dreams I once had, the plans I once made, feel like distant memories. I'm too exhausted to care about them, too stuck in my own daily struggle to even imagine a future where I can have those things. The hardest part is the emotional toll. Some days, I just feel numb. There's only so much anxiety I can carry before it wears me down. I've tried to push it aside, to pretend everything is okay, but I can't escape it. I feel embarrassed sometimes. Everyone else seems to be doing fine, friends buying houses, taking vacations, posting their happy moments on social media. And then there's me. I can't remember the last time I felt like I was living, really living, and not just scraping by. I try not to talk about it too much, even though I feel like I'm carrying this burden alone. It's hard to explain to people who aren't in the same boat. I don't want to burden anyone with my problems, and I don't want to come off as complaining. But it's so hard to stay positive when the system feels stacked against you. You do everything right, graduate, work hard, try to budget, and it still feels like it's never enough. It's never going to be enough. I cope the best I can. There are days when I just want to break down, but I can't afford to. I can't afford to let my guard down for even a second. But I do what I can. I keep the stress in check by staying busy. I work long hours, taking on freelance gigs just to get by. It doesn't leave much time for anything else. I try to remind myself that this is temporary, that someday it will get better. But the longer I'm in this, the harder it is to believe. And then there's the guilt. I've started to feel guilty about everything. Guilty for not having a more successful career. Guilty for not being able to afford things I want. Guilty for not being able to help my family more. It's like the more I work, the further I fall behind. It's exhausting, but I don't know how to get off this treadmill. I try to look for the silver lining. I try to remind myself that there are small victories, like the days when I managed to save a little extra money or when I paid off a chunk of debt. But it's hard to feel hopeful when the bigger picture seems so bleak. I think about the future, and I wonder if this is what it's going to be like for the rest of my life. Just scraping by, constantly fighting to stay afloat. But even in the hardest moments, I can't completely give up. I have to believe that things will change. That someday, I won't have to feel this constant weight on my shoulders. For now, though, I just keep pushing forward, one day at a time. Because even though it feels like I'm stuck, I can't stop moving. I can't give up. It's hard to even put into words the weight of it all. It's a constant buzz in the background of my thoughts, like the hum of a fluorescent light you can't shut off, even when the world around you is quiet. I'm 26, and it feels like every time I take a step forward, the ground underneath me just shifts and I'm back where I started, or worse. Maybe even more buried than before. Every day I wake up with this gnawing feeling in my stomach, and it's not hunger. It's the anxiety that comes with knowing I have bills to pay and not enough to cover them. Rent keeps going up. Utilities, car insurance, gas, everything feels like it's constantly inching up just a little more. And I get paid every 2 weeks, but I swear it's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much I pour in, it's never enough. I've started noticing the way I talk to myself. It's a pattern I'm getting used to now, but I don't know if that's a good thing. When I think about money, I feel small. I feel like I'm failing. When my friends talk about getting promotions, or traveling, or buying new things, I just smile and nod. I can't tell them how I'm barely keeping up. It's not that I don't want those things, too. I do. But those dreams feel more like fantasies, like distant stars that only seem brighter because they're so far away. Sometimes I get angry at the system, at the way everything just keeps growing faster than I can catch up. I look at people who seem to have it figured out, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I know it's not that simple. I'm trying. I really am. But it feels like I'm trapped in this loop where I'm working hard, but every month, I'm just scraping by. My paycheck comes in, I pay the bills, and there's nothing left. No cushion. Just the same cycle of worry. I don't even know when I started feeling like I was in survival mode. Maybe it was when I started cutting back on things that used to bring me joy. I used to grab coffee every morning before work, but that stopped months ago. Now, I make my coffee at home, and it's just not the same. I don't buy new clothes anymore. I can't remember the last time I went out with friends for dinner, or splurged on something that wasn't an absolute necessity. It's been so long since I've allowed myself to want something for the sake of wanting it. I try not to let it show. I don't want to be the person who's always talking about money problems, but it's hard to ignore it. My phone buzzes with notifications, reminders that another bill is due, or that my credit card payment is overdue. Every reminder feels like a slap. Sometimes I just turn the phone off, pretending it's not happening, even though I know it is. It's like I'm playing a game where the rules change every day, and I can't seem to catch up to them. There's this part of me that feels like I'm stuck in some weird in-between space. I'm not a kid anymore, but I don't feel like I'm truly an adult either. The weight of responsibility hangs heavy, and I don't have the financial freedom to do anything about it. I think about the things I used to dream of when I was younger, owning a house, starting a family, traveling to places I've only seen in pictures. Now, it feels like I'm just surviving. Every plan I had for the future has been put on hold, like someone pressed pause on my life. And then there's the guilt. Every time I let myself dream, it's followed by the harsh reality of what I can actually afford. I don't even talk about the future much anymore because it feels so far out of reach. Instead, I focus on today. I think about how I can get through this week. I don't know how I'll afford groceries next month, but I tell myself I'll figure it out when the time comes. There's a strange kind of numbness that settles in after a while. It's not that I don't care, it's that I'm so tired of constantly fighting a battle I can never win. My mental health has started to erode slowly, like water wearing down a stone. I find myself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, the pressure in my chest rising as I think about all the bills that are piling up. My body feels heavy from the stress. I'm exhausted, even when I sleep. It's hard to wake up motivated when the future feels so uncertain. But I try to hold on. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. That millions of other people are facing the same struggles. That maybe this is just a season, and it'll pass. But right now, that doesn't offer much comfort. I look at my friends, and I see them moving forward, buying homes, getting married, going on trips. And then there's me, still here, trying to figure out how to stretch a paycheck to last another 2 weeks. I've learned to be resourceful in ways I didn't think I would ever need to be. I cook meals that last for days. I take the bus instead of driving, even though it takes longer. I cut back on little luxuries, things like streaming services or the occasional drink at the bar. I've started doing side gigs, even though they don't pay much. It's not enough to make a real difference, but it's something. Some days, it feels like my whole life is made up of tiny sacrifices. And I wonder, how long can I keep doing this before I break? I think about the future sometimes, what it might look like once I get a little ahead, when I finally pay off the debts that seem to follow me around like a shadow. There are days when I feel hopeful, like maybe there's a way out. Maybe if I work harder, or if I just wait long enough, things will get better. But then I remember that the system is set up in a way that doesn't really give anyone a fair shot. It's like running a race where the starting line keeps moving further and further away, no matter how fast you run. There's this dream I had when I was younger, about traveling the world, seeing new places, experiencing things beyond the confines of this city. But now, that dream feels impossible. It's not that I don't want it, it's just that it feels so far away, like something I'll never be able to touch. I put it in a box and shove it to the back of my mind, but I know it's still there, waiting. Some days, I feel so defeated. I feel like I'm giving everything and getting nothing in return. I try to remind myself that this is just temporary. That there's more to life than money. But on days when the stress is overwhelming, it's hard to believe that. I know I'm doing my best, but it doesn't always feel like enough. I just want to breathe. I want to feel free from this constant weight of financial strain. I want to stop thinking about bills and start thinking about what comes next, without the constant fear that I'm one bad month away from losing everything. But for now, I keep going. I get up every day, and I keep moving forward, even if it feels like I'm moving through quicksand. I hold on to the hope that one day, I'll be able to breathe again. That maybe one day, I'll look back on this and say, I made it through. But for now, I'm just trying to make it through today. That's all I can do. It's hard to explain what it feels like to live in constant tension between your dreams and the cold reality of your bank account. Some days, it's as though I'm living in a movie, where everyone else seems to be getting ahead, but I'm stuck, treading water. I'm 24, and it feels like the more I work, the less I have. It's as if the world has somehow conspired to keep me in a perpetual cycle of stress. I wake up every morning to the dull ache of financial pressure, the same weight I felt yesterday, the day before, and all the days before that. I think it started in college, when I first realized that no matter how hard I tried to keep my expenses down, they would always find a way to creep up. The rent, the textbooks, the food, everything just kept getting more expensive. But then, I graduated, and the pressure didn't stop. In fact, it's only gotten worse. My student loan payments are a constant reminder of the past, and now, every month, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. I have a decent job, but it's like no matter how many hours I put in, the pay barely keeps up with inflation, let alone the new expenses that keep popping up out of nowhere. It's hard to describe the feeling of looking at my bank account and realizing that there's nothing left. There's always just enough to pay the bills, but then I have to dip into savings for a simple grocery run. And when it's time to pay rent? That's when I feel the real panic, the knot in my stomach tightening with each digit on the screen. Rent goes up every year, but my salary stays the same, or barely rises, and my mind starts spinning in circles, asking how it's possible that the world can expect me to do this for decades. I try to tell myself it's temporary, that this is just a phase, but every time I say that, I feel like a little piece of me dies. I wanted to be farther along by now. I wanted to be in a career I loved, to have a little savings to fall back on, to be able to go on vacation without checking my bank account first. But instead, I'm stuck in a job I don't love, though it's stable, at least, and I spend most of my time just keeping my head above water. The hardest part is not knowing if it will ever get better. I used to dream about buying my first house, about having the freedom to go out without worrying about how much it would cost. But lately, I've had to push those dreams aside, knowing deep down that they're unrealistic. They're not impossible, I guess, but they feel that way. There's a nagging voice in the back of my head telling me that this is just how life is for people like me, that the system is rigged, and it doesn't matter how hard I try. The expenses are growing faster than my income, and it feels like I'm trapped. Sometimes, I wonder what it would be like to just walk away from it all. Move to a small town, take a job at a coffee shop, live simply. I've had those fantasies, the kind where you can breathe, where you don't need to worry about credit scores or rent hikes or how much gas costs to get to work. But those fantasies always crash against the reality of my obligations, the weight of student loans, credit card debt, and the fear of being financially stuck forever. The truth is, I can't afford to quit. So, I keep going. I keep working. I keep trying to make ends meet, even if it means constantly sacrificing what I really want. The emotional toll this takes on me is exhausting. Some days, I wake up and already feel tired, like the very act of surviving is draining me. My mental health is a little bruised from it all. I'm anxious about every purchase, second-guessing whether I really need that extra cup of coffee or if I can survive another week without buying anything fun. I've started avoiding social events because I can't afford them. I hate feeling like I'm letting my friends down, but the truth is, it's just too expensive to go out. I stay home instead, scrolling through social media, seeing everyone else living the life I wish I could have. It feels like everyone else has figured it out, and I'm the one left behind. And then there's the guilt, the constant, gnawing guilt. I feel guilty for not doing more with my life, for not achieving the things I thought I would by now. I feel guilty for not being able to provide more for the people I care about, for always having to make excuses for why I can't go out with them, or why I have to cancel plans at the last minute. I feel guilty for not having a backup plan, for not being able to save up for a rainy day. And I feel guilty for feeling stuck when I know there are people in worse situations than mine. It's like there's no end to the self-blame. But then, there are moments when I catch myself imagining a future that isn't tied to constant financial stress. It's a fleeting thought, one that I try not to get too attached to because I know it's far from my reality. But I think about what it would be like to not constantly check my bank balance, to have a little cushion to fall back on when things go wrong. Maybe I'd be able to travel. Maybe I'd be able to take a day off and not feel like I'm wasting precious time and money. I try to remind myself that this isn't forever, that things could change. But even as I say it, I don't really believe it. The world is changing so fast, and it feels like I'm being left behind. I wonder if my dreams will ever catch up to me or if I'll always be playing catch-up, always 2 steps behind. At the end of the day, though, I know I have to keep moving forward. I'm still here, and I'm still trying. That's something, right? I try to hold on to the small victories, like when I manage to pay a bill without feeling completely drained or when I'm able to buy a book or something that reminds me of the person I want to be, not just the person I am right now. It's not much, but it's something. Maybe, in the end, all I really want is a little peace. Just a little bit of breathing room. I don't need everything. I don't need luxury. I just want a chance to live without constantly feeling like I'm sinking. But for now, I'll keep moving, keep surviving, and keep hoping that one day, I'll find a way out of this. It's hard, and it's frustrating, but I haven't given up yet. And I don't plan to. I wake up to the sound of my alarm buzzing, too early but the same as every other day. The light from the window slices through the curtains, but it doesn't feel bright. Not today. Not any day, really. The weight of the world is always pressing down on me, but it seems especially heavy when I first open my eyes. It's a familiar feeling by now, like an old friend that never leaves. I roll over and check my phone, instinctively swiping to the banking app. I try to tell myself not to, but it's like a reflex now. A deep breath escapes me as I look at the balance, just enough to cover rent and a few bills. It's not like I expected much more, but seeing that number feels like a punch in the gut. I close the app quickly, like hiding it will make it go away, but it lingers in my mind. There are so many things I need to pay for: groceries, phone bills, credit card payments, insurance, gas, utilities. The list never ends. I'm 25, but I feel like I'm trapped in a cycle that I can't break. Every month, I do the same thing. I stretch my paycheck as far as it'll go, moving money around like a game of Tetris, trying to make sure I don't fall behind. It's exhausting. The frustration is building, but there's no relief. It's like the world expects me to keep up with an economy that's growing faster than I can. Expenses climb, but my income stays flat, maybe even decreases if I'm honest. I get up, go through the motions, shower, brush my teeth, get dressed in the same old clothes. Everything feels so routine, and not in a comforting way. More like a clock ticking down, reminding me that the days are slipping away, and I haven't gotten anywhere. Sometimes I wonder if it's even worth it. There's no joy in anything anymore, no excitement, not even the smallest feeling of accomplishment. I used to dream about getting a house, traveling, having a career that made me proud. Now, it feels like just keeping my head above water is all I can manage. When I leave for work, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I look tired. Not the kind of tired from a late night, but the kind that comes from living in constant anxiety. My skin is pale, my eyes dull. I barely recognize the person staring back at me. I used to care about what I looked like. I used to get excited about what the future might hold. But now, it feels like I'm just a bystander in my own life, watching it all pass me by. I've learned to push my dreams to the back of my mind, out of sight, because even thinking about them makes me angry. A part of me knows I should keep trying, keep pushing for something better, but another part of me just wants to let go. I want to scream out, why am I even trying? What's the point if it's never enough? But I push those thoughts down. I don't have the luxury of giving up. Not when I've got bills to pay. Not when I'm responsible for making sure I have a roof over my head. So I put on a mask. I pretend I've got it together. At work, I force a smile, put in the hours, and do what's expected of me. But every time I sit down to do the work, I feel like a hamster on a wheel, running but never getting anywhere. I answer emails, attend meetings, complete tasks, but none of it feels real. None of it feels like I'm moving forward. It's just more noise, more distractions from the fact that I'm barely holding on. At lunch, I pull out a granola bar I packed from home, the same one I eat every day. There's no money for anything else. Maybe I could go out for lunch like I used to with my friends, but the thought of spending even $10 extra sends a wave of panic through me. I feel guilty every time I buy something unnecessary, even if it's something as small as a coffee. Guilt follows me everywhere. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year. I haven't been on a vacation in forever. I don't remember the last time I treated myself to something just for fun. But that's what this life feels like now, like a constant state of survival. It's not living. I can't even remember what it's like to do something because I want to, not because I have to. I can't remember the last time I felt like I had the freedom to dream, to plan for something I wanted instead of something I needed. The hardest part is that no one seems to understand. My friends are still living their lives, buying houses, taking vacations, getting promotions, and I can't even get ahead enough to get a decent night's sleep. I'm stuck in this constant comparison game, measuring myself against others who seem to have it all figured out. It makes me feel even more inadequate, like I'm doing something wrong. Like I've missed some crucial step that everyone else is in on. At the end of the day, I sit on my couch, too tired to even think. The bills are piling up. The emails in my inbox are stacking up. I want to take a break, but there's no time. There's no space in my life for relaxation, for breathing, for being. I just keep going. Keep moving. Keep hoping that one day, something will change. That one day, things will get better. But I'm afraid I'm fooling myself. I think about the dreams I once had. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to meet people from different places. I wanted to build something I could be proud of, something that mattered. Now, the only thing I'm building is debt. I've had to postpone everything. All those plans, those desires, are on hold, and they don't feel like they're ever going to come true. It's like I'm stuck in a box that's getting smaller and smaller, and I can't get out. But maybe that's the hardest part, feeling like I've lost myself. I used to be optimistic. I used to believe that anything was possible, that hard work would pay off eventually. But now, I'm not so sure. It feels like the system is built to keep me stuck. To make sure I never get out of this cycle. I want to keep believing that there's a way out, that someday, I'll find the break I need. But right now, I'm just trying to survive. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up to the same feeling every day. The dull weight of it presses on my chest, like an invisible hand holding me down. I can't tell you exactly when it started, but it's been there for as long as I can remember now, the constant pressure of money. Or rather, the lack of it. The alarm goes off at 7 a.m., but I don't immediately get up. I lie there for a minute, staring at the ceiling, already calculating how much time I have before I need to leave the apartment. My phone's buzz from last night's notifications is still ringing in my ears. Bill reminders. Credit card updates. They're all reminders of how much I don't have, how much I owe. I wish I could say I've gotten used to it, but I haven't. The feeling of being trapped, stuck in a cycle that never seems to slow down, is something that's only gotten worse as time has gone on. I drag myself out of bed, stumble into the kitchen, and open the fridge. It's empty, of course. The few items I've been able to buy are all leftovers, the kind of thing I can stretch out for days. I reach for the cheapest coffee I could find. Instant. It's barely enough to get me moving. But I drink it anyway. I need something to help me stay awake, to help me survive another day of feeling like I'm sinking deeper into an abyss I can't quite escape. I check my bank account as I eat. I've started doing this every morning now, as a kind of ritual. It's become almost automatic. A way of preparing myself for the inevitable disappointment that comes with seeing the balance, or the lack of it. This time it's no different. I've got just enough to cover the bills I need to pay this week. But there's nothing left for anything else. No savings. No buffer. And no room to breathe. I know what I'm doing isn't sustainable. But it's all I can manage right now. By the time I'm done with my coffee, I've convinced myself to go. I can't afford to miss a day at work. Every shift counts, even though it's barely enough to keep the lights on. I throw on some clothes, nothing special, just whatever I can grab that looks halfway decent, and I head out the door. I've got about 20 minutes to get to the bus stop. If I miss it, I'll be late. And being late means less money at the end of the week. When I step outside, the cool air hits my face, but it doesn't feel refreshing. It's just another reminder that the world keeps turning, and I'm stuck here, frozen in place. The bus arrives, and I climb aboard, trying to ignore the nagging ache in my stomach. I try to stay positive. Just focus on the day ahead, I tell myself. Don't think about the bills. Don't think about the constant, low hum of stress that runs through everything you do. But it's hard not to. The city's become a blur of faces, noises, and buildings, all wrapped up in a hustle I can't quite keep up with. People around me are going about their lives, walking in and out of stores, heading to meetings, looking like they have it all together. I can't help but compare myself to them. I wonder what their lives are like. Do they have to deal with the same things I do? Or are they just moving through the world without the weight I feel on my shoulders? I get to work, and the day begins. The usual routine. The same tasks, the same coworkers, the same conversations. But I can't focus. My mind keeps drifting back to the numbers in my bank account, to the bills I know are coming, to the rent I can't afford to miss. How did it get this bad? I know the answers, but none of them make me feel any better. When I was younger, I had dreams. I wanted to travel, maybe even move abroad for a year, or take up painting, something creative. I thought I could do it all. But as the years passed, I found myself postponing those dreams, one by one, until they've faded into the background of my life. They're still there, buried deep inside me, but I don't know how to bring them to the surface when every waking moment is consumed by survival. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, it would pay off. That I'd climb the ladder, get promoted, make enough to build a future. But now, I can't shake the feeling that the ladder is broken. Or maybe it was never even there in the first place. Every time I take a step forward, it feels like something pulls me back down. There's always another bill, another expense, another thing I have to pay for. My income hasn't kept up with the cost of living. Rent keeps rising, food keeps getting more expensive, gas prices are ridiculous. I get paid, and the money is gone before I even have a chance to feel like I've earned it. The constant tightening of my finances is a slow kind of drowning. I try to tell myself it's temporary, that I'm doing my best. But even as I say those words, I know deep down they don't feel true. I feel stuck. And stuck is the worst place to be. I try to cope, to keep my head above water. Some days, it's easier than others. There are moments when I can lose myself in work, or in a good book, or even in the simple act of making a cup of tea. But more often than not, the stress comes creeping back in. I can't escape the worry. The feeling that I'm not doing enough, that no matter how hard I try, it's never going to be enough. And then there are the moments when the hopelessness starts to seep in. When I wonder if I'll ever get out of this hole. Will I ever be able to afford the life I imagined for myself? Or am I condemned to this constant cycle of barely surviving, of postponing everything, forever? I'm afraid that if I don't find a way out soon, I'll lose the little hope I have left. I've thought about asking for help. I've thought about telling my friends how bad things have gotten. But I don't. I keep it all inside, because I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I've let it get this far, that I've made so many mistakes. I'm ashamed that I can't fix it on my own. And I'm afraid that if I let anyone see how broken I feel, they'll just see me as weak. As someone who can't handle the pressure. So I keep going. Day after day. I keep showing up, even when I feel like I'm running on empty. I keep hoping that someday things will change. But as the days blur together, the future feels more distant than ever. I've had to put my dreams on hold. The ones I used to think were possible. But maybe one day, when I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, I'll be able to reach for them again. Maybe I'll be able to breathe without the constant weight of worry on my chest. Until then, I'll keep going. I'll keep hoping. Because, in the end, that's all I can do. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It's 7:30 a.m., and I'm already late. I roll over, rubbing my eyes, and stare at the screen. A text from my bank alerts me to a low balance. It's almost like my body knows it before I see it, the sense of anxiety, that weight in my chest that follows me like a shadow. I swipe away the notification and sit up, trying to shake off the dread that comes with the start of every day. I'm 24, and it feels like I'm carrying the weight of a whole lifetime in my bones. I look at my reflection in the mirror, and I don't see someone young, hopeful, or ambitious. Instead, I see someone who's holding their breath, waiting for the next thing to go wrong. My job isn't bad. I work as a marketing assistant at a mid-sized agency, and on paper, it's everything I should want. But in reality, I'm barely making enough to cover rent, let alone anything else. And don't even get me started on the student loans. Every month, it feels like I'm drowning a little more in this overwhelming, invisible tide that just keeps rising. I've been working for 2 years, and when I first started, I thought it would be enough. I'd be able to save up for a vacation. Maybe even get a dog. I thought that eventually, I'd be able to move into a place with more space, somewhere I could start building the life I always imagined for myself. But instead, all I've managed to do is pay the bills. And even that's a struggle. I don't even remember when it became normal for my expenses to outweigh my income. But somewhere along the way, it did. I've had to adjust my expectations and stop thinking about the dreams I used to have. They feel like childish fantasies now, luxuries I can't afford. I used to want to travel the world, see the places I only read about in books. I used to imagine that maybe one day I'd own a little cafe, or at least find work that was meaningful, fulfilling. Now, I can't even remember the last time I took a day off without feeling guilty for doing so. Every hour feels like I'm wasting precious time I could be working, hustling, doing something productive. Every time I walk past a store window, I look at the clothes or gadgets that catch my eye, but I know better than to step inside. The price tags are too much for me to stomach. I'll settle for buying groceries in bulk, living off rice and beans for the week. At least it's cheap, and sometimes I can stretch it out to make it last longer. There's no room for extras. No room for joy. Even small indulgences feel like a betrayal. If I splurge on a coffee or a takeout meal, it lingers in my chest, a heavy feeling that follows me for days. I'll remember it at night when I'm lying in bed, replaying my choices. Was it worth it? Why did I think I needed that? In the quiet moments, I can't help but wonder, when did my life become about surviving rather than living? The worst part is the constant fear. Fear that I won't be able to make rent. Fear that I won't be able to make it to the end of the month without having to borrow from someone or, worse, putting it on a credit card I can barely afford to pay back. Fear that one unexpected emergency, like a car breakdown or a medical bill, could knock me off course completely. Every day is a balancing act between basic survival and the desperate hope that things might get better. I've tried to cut back wherever I can. I've stopped going out with friends unless it's to grab something free, like a walk in the park or an afternoon at the library. I avoid looking at my credit card bills, pretending that maybe they'll just go away. I avoid looking at the future altogether. It's too overwhelming. I think about my dreams sometimes, but it's like thinking about the moon, something far off and unreachable. I used to want to go back to school, but now it feels like an impossible dream. Not only is the cost of tuition insane, but even getting the time off from work to study feels impossible. The weight of debt feels like it's already swallowing me whole. But I keep going. I can't stop. I don't have the luxury of giving up, even though part of me just wants to. I get up every day, drag myself to work, and pretend like everything's fine. I laugh at the jokes, make small talk, act like the constant pressure I feel isn't there. No one sees the toll it takes on me. Everyone else seems to be doing fine, climbing the ladder, getting promotions, buying houses, and traveling to exotic places. It's a constant reminder that I'm falling behind. It feels like I'm stuck in a cycle that's designed to keep me exactly where I am, stressed, exhausted, and unable to catch up. At night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I can keep going. I think about the people I know who have managed to get ahead. They seem so confident in their careers, so sure of where they're headed. I wish I could feel that way, too, but it feels like my path is obscured by all the bills and uncertainty. I've had to let go of so many of the things I wanted. I wanted to go on a road trip this summer, but that's not even in the realm of possibility. I wanted to take a yoga class, start learning how to cook better meals, or even just spend more time reading and less time stressing about finances. But every time I think about it, I can't justify the expense. How can I spend money on self-care when I'm just trying to scrape by? Sometimes I think about what it would be like if I could just take a break from all of this, just leave and not worry about anything. But then reality hits, and I remember I can't afford to take that break. I'm stuck. Some nights, I catch myself wondering what it would be like if I had a different life. What if I'd grown up with more stability? What if I hadn't made the wrong decisions? What if I didn't have to spend every second of my day worrying about money? But those thoughts are like quicksand, one wrong step and I'm stuck even deeper. I try not to go down that path because I know it won't do anything to change my situation. I have to keep going. There's no other choice. Still, I hold on to a fragile thread of hope, even though it's getting harder to do so. I remind myself that I'm young, that things could get better. Maybe one day I'll find a way to break free from this cycle, maybe my income will rise. Maybe I'll find the courage to go after something that makes me truly happy. I remind myself that dreams don't die, they just have to be postponed. But even then, the voice inside me asks, for how long? I can't let myself give up yet, though. Not while there's still a chance. Not while I can still find a way out. So I keep pushing forward, one day at a time, hoping that maybe tomorrow will be a little better. But right now, all I can do is hold my breath, and keep swimming. I wake up to the sound of my alarm clock, the same one that's been going off for years now. It's just after 6 a.m., and my body feels like it hasn't rested, but I know there's no time to sleep in. I don't even remember the last time I could sleep in without guilt creeping in. Guilt over not being productive enough, over wasting time. I drag myself out of bed, trying to shake off the weight of the day ahead. I go through the usual motions. Brush my teeth, throw on the same clothes I wore yesterday, because there's no point in buying anything new when there's barely enough for rent, let alone a wardrobe refresh. As I step into the kitchen, the sound of the coffee machine brewing is a small comfort, but I'm already anticipating the bills that'll be waiting for me when I open my bank account. I don't want to check it. But I do. The balance sits there on the screen, mocking me. It's enough to cover the essentials, but that's about it. Rent, utilities, car payment, everything else is secondary. I feel the familiar weight of anxiety settle into my chest. I need to buy groceries, but I know I'll have to stretch what little I have left to make it through the month. I've been cutting back on things, but every time I think I've made it work, something new comes up, an unexpected bill, a price hike, or a last-minute expense. It's exhausting. I try not to think about it as I leave for work. I throw on my shoes and grab my bag, and for a moment, I pretend that everything's fine. But deep down, I know it's not. I'm stuck. The system's rigged to keep people like me stuck. I can feel it in every dollar I spend, in every hour I work, in every dream I push aside because there's no time or money to make them happen. The traffic is worse than usual. Another thing I can't afford, but I need my car to get to work. The cost of gas keeps climbing, and even though I've tried to cut back, I feel like I'm always playing catch up. I'm constantly calculating, constantly adjusting. Do I have enough gas to make it to my next paycheck? Do I have enough to eat today, or should I stretch the last few snacks I have in my bag to make it? Work doesn't offer any relief. It's not that I don't like my job, it's just that it feels like the work I'm doing is never enough. I put in the hours, stay late when I need to, but the pay stays the same. The bills keep climbing, and I can't catch up. I feel like I'm drowning in a system that doesn't care, and no matter how hard I swim, I'm always sinking. It's hard to focus at work. My mind keeps drifting to the same thoughts over and over again. How will I pay for the things I need? How will I ever get ahead? I try to tell myself that I'm doing the best I can, but some days it feels like the best I can do isn't enough. I'm tired. I'm so tired of feeling this way. Lunchtime comes, and I sit at my desk with the same sad salad I packed from home. I used to enjoy my lunch breaks, even if it was just a quick escape from the grind. But now, everything feels like it's part of the same endless loop: work, eat, pay bills, repeat. I used to dream about traveling, seeing new places, doing something that made me feel alive. Now, the only thing I dream about is making it through the day without spiraling into a panic attack. I wonder what it would feel like to take a real break, to step away from everything for just a moment. But I can't afford that luxury. I try not to talk about it too much. My friends don't get it. They're all doing well. Some of them have bought houses, gone on vacations, started families. I'm happy for them, but there's a part of me that feels left behind. It's hard not to compare myself to them. It feels like I'm stuck in a race that I'll never win. I'm the one who's always worried about money, always checking my bank account, always wondering how long I can make it last. After work, I head home, exhausted but not able to rest. The evening brings more worries. Should I pay off my credit card, or is it more important to keep enough for groceries? Should I pay the heating bill, or can I make it through another week? I spend more time thinking about money than I do actually living. I'm so consumed by the fear of running out of it that I don't know how to move forward. Some nights, I try to dream, but it's hard to see past the bills. I think about all the things I've had to put on hold, the trips I've always wanted to take, the hobbies I used to enjoy, the future I used to envision for myself. But those dreams feel so distant now. They feel out of reach, like a life I'm not meant to have. I tell myself that one day I'll get there. I'll catch up. I'll finally have enough to start living again. But I don't know if that day will ever come. It's a strange thing, to feel like you're just waiting. Waiting for the next paycheck, waiting for the next bill, waiting for the next moment when everything feels like it's falling apart. I try to cope by distracting myself, watching TV, scrolling through social media, anything to get my mind off the pressure. But even when I'm distracted, it's there, in the back of my mind, always waiting. Always looming. Some days, I feel like I'm losing myself. I don't remember the last time I felt truly happy. I don't remember the last time I felt like I was living for something other than survival. I know I'm not the only one going through this, but it doesn't make it any easier. It just makes me feel like I'm trapped in a system that doesn't care about me. I try to hold on to hope, but it's hard when the days blend together in a blur of struggle and exhaustion. All I can do is keep moving. Keep working. Keep surviving. But sometimes, I wonder, will I ever catch a break? Will I ever feel like I'm not just treading water, waiting for something to change? Or is this just what life is now? It's 3 a.m., and I'm awake again, scrolling through my bank app. The numbers are still the same, just as tight as they've been for months now, maybe even longer. Every week feels like I'm running a marathon with no finish line in sight. I keep thinking there has to be a way out, but most days, it feels like I'm just stuck in this cycle, trapped. I don't even remember what it was like to feel financially stable, if I ever really did. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. My parents worked hard, always hustling, but we didn't have much. I watched them juggle bills, always putting off one thing to cover another. They'd say things like, "This is just a season. You'll be fine." I never understood the weight of those words until I was out here, in the real world, facing bills I can't pay and an economy that seems like it's working against me at every turn. I'm 26 now. I have a job, and it's not terrible, at least, it's not soul-crushing. But I'm stuck in a role that doesn't pay enough for the life I'm trying to build. They keep telling me to be patient, that I'll get promoted eventually. But how long am I supposed to wait? Every raise feels like it's just to keep up with inflation, not actually improve my quality of life. I don't know if anyone at work is talking about this stuff, but I can't help but feel like I'm drowning. And then I scroll through social media, and it's like everyone else is making it work. They have nice clothes, take vacations, go out for dinner every weekend. Meanwhile, I'm over here choosing between buying groceries and keeping the lights on. I've had to make so many sacrifices. I can't remember the last time I had a full weekend off without worrying about something. If I'm not working, I'm trying to scrape by. I try to cut corners wherever I can, no more weekly coffee runs, no Uber rides, I cook in bulk to stretch my meals. My phone bill is the only thing I keep paying on time because, honestly, without it, I'd be lost. Sometimes I even sell things I don't need just to put a little extra toward rent. I've sold clothes, old books, anything that's not nailed down. That emergency fund I was supposed to build? Yeah, it's non-existent. The worst part is how it messes with my mind. I know I'm not the only one feeling this way, but when you're in the middle of it, it feels isolating. It's like everyone else has figured it out, and I'm the only one still scrambling. When I try to talk about it, I get the usual responses, just be patient, keep working hard, it'll get better. But does it? When? And how? I feel like I'm always on the edge of something, but I never actually get over it. Every step forward feels like one step backward, and it's exhausting. I can't help but look at the future with a mix of dread and uncertainty. I used to dream about owning a house, maybe even starting a family one day. But now, I'm just trying to get through the next month without any major setbacks. I want to save up for travel, to see the world and experience something beyond this little bubble I've been in. But travel? That's for people who don't worry about where their next meal is coming from. And a house? I don't even know where to start. How can I save for something that expensive when I can barely keep up with rent? Every time I get a paycheck, I feel a brief sense of relief. But then I pay my rent, my credit card bills, buy groceries, and there's nothing left. I keep thinking, if I can just make it until next month, maybe things will feel easier. But that next month always brings new challenges. The gas prices go up. My phone bill increases. My student loan payment comes back around. And all those little expenses that add up, the extra charges for online shopping, the subscription services I can't cancel because they're so ingrained in my routine, the random costs for things I didn't see coming. The stress has become part of me, like a constant companion I can't shake. I can't even remember the last time I didn't have that heavy, gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach, wondering if I've forgotten to pay something, if I'll get a notice in the mail, if I'll be hit with another unexpected bill. I cope by keeping busy. I bury myself in work, in anything that keeps me distracted from the anxiety gnawing at me. If I stop, if I let myself think about it too much, I feel like I'll drown. So I keep moving, keep pushing forward, even when it feels like there's no point. I try to remind myself that this is temporary, that there's a future ahead of me, but it's hard to believe that when everything seems so out of reach. Sometimes, I think about quitting. Just walking away from everything, running somewhere I can't be reached. But then I think about the consequences, about what it would mean to leave everything behind, to have nothing to fall back on. The pressure, the fear of failure, keeps me tethered here. Maybe it's stupid, but I keep thinking if I just work a little harder, if I push myself just a little more, something will give. I'll catch a break. Maybe a side hustle will take off. Maybe someone will notice me and offer me that promotion or a better job. Maybe one day, all this will pay off. But when? How much longer? At times, I try to push the fear aside and focus on the small victories. I pay off a small credit card balance. I make it through the month without dipping into my overdraft. I get a compliment at work, and for a brief moment, I feel like I'm doing okay. But these moments are fleeting, and they never last long enough to convince me that things are going to get better. I miss being able to just dream. When I was younger, I had so many plans. I wanted to go back to school, to get a degree that would open doors for me, but the thought of the student loans that would follow keeps me from making that leap. I thought I'd be more settled by now, that I'd have something to hold on to. But all I have are these bills, this constant weight, and a future that feels more uncertain by the day. I try to find peace in small things. I take long walks, listen to music, call my friends when I can afford to. But sometimes, even these things feel tainted by the weight of my financial struggles. How can I enjoy the little things when I'm constantly worried about my next paycheck, about the bills I haven't even opened yet, about the choices I can't afford to make? The dreams I had for myself, the ones I held on to when I was younger, feel distant now. I don't know when I'll be able to afford a vacation, or even a weekend getaway. I don't know if I'll ever be able to live in the kind of home I imagined for myself. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know it's going to take everything I have just to get by. But I'm still here. I haven't given up yet. Maybe it's the stubbornness I get from my parents, or maybe it's just the simple fact that there's no other choice. I keep pushing forward, trying to find ways to cope, to survive. And maybe, someday, this will all make sense. Maybe things will get better. Or maybe, I'll just keep pushing, keep hoping, because that's all I can do right now. It's a strange feeling, living in a world where everything costs more and more, but somehow, my paycheck doesn't stretch any further than it did last year, or the year before that. It's like I'm stuck in a loop, always working hard but never getting ahead. Every day, I wake up, and the first thing I do is look at my bank account. The number is always smaller than I expect, and somehow, I always feel surprised, even though I know what it's going to be. I should have known. It's always the same. I'm 24, living in a small one-bedroom apartment in a city that's full of hope and ambition, but for me, it feels like it's just a place where dreams go to die. I moved here to start my career, well, not really my dream career, but something close. I got my degree in marketing, which, in retrospect, might have been a bit of a joke. But who knew? Back then, I thought I'd have time to figure it all out. Now, I work a desk job at a small digital marketing firm. It's not bad, I guess, but I'm constantly aware of how little I'm earning. And no matter how hard I work, I never feel like I'm moving forward. It's like trying to swim with weights around my ankles. There are always bills to pay. Rent is my biggest worry, obviously, because it's high, but also because it keeps climbing. I haven't seen a rent increase this drastic since I moved here, and every time it happens, I think to myself, how am I supposed to make this work? But, somehow, I do. I don't even know how sometimes. Maybe I just stay in survival mode and hope that one day, something will change. The reality is, though, that nothing ever changes. Not really. Every month feels like a mad scramble to cover my basic needs. I don't really live anymore, I just exist. My friends talk about traveling, about buying new things, about having fun. And I just try to make sure I have enough money for groceries. If I'm being honest, most of my days are spent calculating. How much do I have until my next paycheck? Can I skip the grocery store this week? Do I really need to buy that thing? I think about all of those decisions in the moments before I fall asleep, when everything feels even harder. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever get out of this cycle. But it's not just the financial pressure. It's the way it makes me feel, small, invisible, like I'm never doing enough. I've started to dread checking my bank account because I know I'll see the same thing, not enough. Every day, I'm faced with the weight of knowing I'm falling behind. I've stopped dreaming as much, at least the big dreams. It feels like there's no point in hoping for a future where I'm not struggling financially because that future feels too far away. How do you dream when the present is a constant fight just to keep your head above water? And it's not just the money, it's the way it wears you down emotionally. I'm irritable, restless. I can't focus on my job the way I used to because I'm constantly thinking about how much I'm going to have to sacrifice just to make it to the end of the month. It's like a dull ache that I can never shake off. I can't even remember the last time I went out with friends without calculating how much it would cost and whether I could afford it. My emotional reserves are low, and sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions. Some days, I get a glimpse of the life I thought I'd have. I remember when I was younger, I had all these grand ideas about how things would turn out. I'd be traveling the world, working at a big company, maybe even owning a house one day. I'd have this life full of possibilities. Now, those dreams feel like distant fantasies. I don't even know where to begin to make them real. I think about how I used to think about the future. I had hope once. Now, every decision is made out of necessity. Every choice is about surviving, not thriving. I've had to put off so many things. I was supposed to be saving for a trip to Europe this year. I was going to go backpacking with my best friend. It was our dream. But that dream feels impossible now. How can I even think about that when I'm still barely scraping by? The worst part is the way it affects everything else. My mental health has taken a hit. I don't talk to my parents about it because I don't want to worry them. They know I'm struggling, but they don't know how deep it goes. I can't let them see how much of an emotional toll it's taking on me. I don't want to disappoint them. They want me to be happy, and it's hard to explain that I'm not. I've started doing little things to cope. I've been trying to eat healthier, because it feels like one thing I can control. I'm trying to exercise more too, just to keep my head straight. But it's hard. When you're constantly anxious about money, it's hard to focus on anything else. Sometimes, I'll take long walks to clear my mind, but the city's always buzzing with noise, and it feels like everyone else is going somewhere, doing something, while I'm just stuck in place. At night, before I sleep, I wonder what my future holds. Will I ever make enough money to live comfortably? Will I be able to pay off my student loans without feeling like they're swallowing me whole? It's overwhelming. But I also can't stop thinking about what it would be like to finally break free from this cycle. To not have to check my bank account every day, to not worry about whether I'll have enough for rent, or gas, or food. Sometimes, I think about what would happen if I just gave up. If I walked away from everything, moved somewhere cheaper, tried something totally different. But I know that's just a fantasy. If I walked away, I'd have nothing left. So instead, I keep pushing through. I keep pretending that I'm okay, even when I'm not. I don't know what the future holds. Some days, I wonder if things will ever get better, or if I'm just destined to live like this forever. Maybe that's dramatic. Maybe one day I'll look back and realize this was all just a chapter in a much bigger story. But for now, all I can do is try to hold on and keep moving forward, even if it feels like I'm running in place. And that's what it feels like, really. Running. But I'm still breathing. So maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Some mornings, I wake up with a knot in my stomach. It's the kind of feeling you get when you know something's wrong but you can't put your finger on it. And then, it hits me. It's not the world outside or anything anyone's done to me. It's just the relentless weight of money, or, more accurately, the lack of it. I'm 25, and I can't help but feel like I'm falling behind. Maybe it's the friends I see posting vacation photos, buying new cars, or even moving into homes. It's hard to ignore. Their posts, their lives, feel like another world entirely. They've figured it out. They've found a way to get ahead. They're living their dreams, whatever they are. And then there's me. Every day feels like a balancing act, trying to stay afloat, trying to stretch every dollar further than it's meant to go. I wake up early, and before I even get out of bed, I'm already thinking about money. How much is in my account today? How much will I need for gas, for groceries, for bills? Will I have enough? Sometimes I look at my bank account and wish I could just ignore it for a day, or a week. But that's a luxury I can't afford. The numbers on the screen don't lie, and they are usually the last thing I see before I drift off to sleep. The day is a blur of small decisions, but each one feels heavier than the last. It's like walking a tightrope with no safety net. There's a strange kind of shame that comes with living paycheck to paycheck. It's not something anyone says out loud, but you can feel it in the air. You can feel it when people talk about their plans, their goals, their vacations. They don't mean to, but when they talk about their lives, it feels like they're speaking a different language. A language where money doesn't have to be counted in such excruciating detail. I used to dream about moving to a bigger place, getting a car that didn't require constant maintenance, and even traveling somewhere far away. But every time I start to think about those dreams, the weight of bills and responsibilities pulls me back. I look at the numbers again, rent's gone up, utilities are higher, and there's always something unexpected, like car repairs or medical expenses. It feels like I'm fighting an uphill battle, and for every inch I get ahead, the hill just gets steeper. I tell myself, just one more month, but it feels like I've been saying that for years. And every month, something changes. Rent goes up. Groceries cost more. Gas prices soar. My paycheck doesn't grow with the same pace, and it's hard not to feel defeated. Even if I cut back, even if I stop going out with friends, even if I stop buying the things I want, nothing really changes. I'm just getting by. Getting by, and then trying not to think about what happens when I can't anymore. At work, it's the same routine. I go in, do my job, and leave. I don't hate my job, but I don't love it either. It's not the career I imagined, but it's what I have. I tell myself that it's temporary. That if I just keep working hard enough, I'll be able to make a real change. But I've been saying that for years, and it still feels like I'm stuck. I try to stay positive. I try to remind myself that I'm doing my best, that I'm being responsible, but it's hard. The emotional toll of living in this constant state of worry wears me down. Some days, I feel numb. I go through the motions, and when the weekend comes, I don't even know what to do with myself. I've spent my whole week just surviving, and now there's a void. The weekends used to be a time to look forward to, but now they just feel like another few days of not being able to do the things I want. There are moments when I break. When I feel like I can't do it anymore, and I wonder if this is all there is. The thought of postponing my dreams indefinitely, the idea of never going on that trip, never buying the home I've always imagined, never feeling financially secure enough to live comfortably, it feels like a burden. Some nights, I lie awake in bed, thinking about the future. I want to believe that one day, I'll get out from under this. But it's hard to hold on to hope when every sign points to the same conclusion, that things will always be this way. And yet, I wake up every morning, push through, and keep going. I'm not sure why, but I do. Maybe it's the tiny moments of joy I get to hold on to. The smell of fresh coffee in the morning. A night in with my favorite book. A phone call with a friend who reminds me that there's more to life than just the struggle. But even with those small comforts, it's hard not to feel like life is slipping through my fingers. I've gotten good at coping. I've learned how to live in survival mode, how to squeeze out what I need while barely staying afloat. I've gotten used to saying no to things I want, to pushing aside the dreams I have, to living in a constant state of scarcity. But sometimes, I wonder if I've forgotten how to dream altogether. The truth is, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of worrying about money all the time. Tired of feeling like I'm not moving forward. Tired of wondering when, or if, things will ever get better. I want to believe that one day I'll have enough. That one day, I'll be able to breathe easy, to not worry about what's coming next. But I don't know when that day will come, and I don't know if I'll ever feel that weight lift off my shoulders. So for now, I just keep going. Keep working. Keep pushing. Keep surviving. But it's getting harder to remember what it feels like to live. To really live. I wake up every morning with the same tight knot in my stomach. It's not a hangover, not the kind that comes from a wild night out, but something more constant, like a shadow that stretches across my day, every single day. My alarm blares, and before my feet even hit the floor, my brain starts running the numbers: rent, utilities, gas, student loans. How the hell am I going to make it through today? I'm 27, but I feel older, worn down by the weight of everything. I've been working full-time since I graduated, doing what I thought would be a solid starter job in marketing. The kind of job you take when you've got big dreams of climbing up, growing into a career. But now, I've realized the grind isn't the route to success, it's just survival. Every month, I'm just scraping by, hoping there's enough in the bank for the next round of bills. Every decision I make is dictated by money, or the lack of it. I've stopped buying groceries that aren't on sale, or anything that isn't a necessity. It's not that I don't want to buy fresh fruit or the occasional snack, but there's no room for indulgences anymore. I get what I can afford, and sometimes, it's the bare minimum. A couple of cans of soup, a loaf of bread, frozen vegetables. I used to love cooking, but now, I feel like I'm just checking off a box, trying to get through the day without feeling completely deprived. Sometimes, I'll be in line at the grocery store, holding something, maybe a small chocolate bar or a bag of chips, and I'll put it back at the last second because I know I'll regret that $1.75. It feels stupid, but the guilt is real. The gas prices have been insane lately, so I've been walking to work more. I don't mind it, except when the heat of summer hits and I'm drenched by the time I arrive at the office. It feels like a punishment for not being able to afford a car, even though I'd never consider putting the kind of money I have into car payments and insurance. But I can't help but feel like I'm losing out. I have friends who drive to work, friends who make life look easier because they don't have to deal with the same small inconveniences. Sometimes, I think about the people I went to school with, the ones who landed jobs right out of college, the ones who can afford dinner out without checking their bank account. They're building careers, traveling, buying houses, and I feel like I'm stuck in a loop. I've tried everything: side gigs, freelancing, cutting back on subscriptions. But there's only so much I can do when everything is still so expensive. My paycheck barely keeps up with inflation. Every time I go to pay a bill, it feels like the world is conspiring against me, making me feel more inadequate, more like a failure. Rent went up again this year, and I'm not even sure I can keep my apartment. The building's nice, but it's also old, with pipes that bang through the walls at night and a heater that makes the place feel like an oven in the winter. Still, it's home. But every month I ask myself, can I really afford this? And every month, the answer is the same: probably not, but I have to keep going. I don't tell anyone how much I'm struggling, not in any real sense. I smile when they talk about their weekend plans, their spontaneous trips to new places, the new things they bought. I nod and laugh along, but it feels like they're talking about a different reality, one that doesn't apply to me. I want to be happy for them, I do, but it stings a little, that feeling of being left behind, like I'm failing at something fundamental. The worst part is the anxiety. The constant pressure. I've become an expert at masking it, at pretending everything is okay when my mind is running 100 miles per minute. Some days, I can't breathe for the weight of it all. It feels like my options are shrinking, that the walls are closing in, and the world outside is moving too fast for me to catch up. I try to remind myself that it's not permanent, that this is just a phase. But it's hard to believe that when I'm standing at the end of another month, looking at my bills and realizing that even if I put every dollar into savings, I'd never get ahead. It feels like a rat race where the prize is just to break even. And the worst part? I don't know when it will end. Maybe this is the way it's always going to be. I can't imagine what it would feel like to go on vacation without worrying about the price of the plane ticket. Or to go to a restaurant with a group of friends and not be the one scanning the menu for the cheapest thing. Or to buy a gift for someone I love without calculating if I can afford it next month. The things I once dreamed of, buying a house, traveling to places I've never seen, maybe even starting a family, feel distant, like things that will always be out of my reach. I wonder sometimes if they were just fantasies I made up to keep myself going, illusions that have no place in the real world I'm living in. Maybe the dream is just to make it to the next month. I cope, though, I guess. I've learned to take small moments of joy when I can. A hot shower after a long day. A cup of coffee from a local shop I love, even if it's a bit of a stretch to afford it. Talking to my parents, who still don't know the full extent of how tight things are. I never let them know how stressed I am, because I don't want them to worry. They've always been supportive, but I don't want them to feel like they need to help me again. They've given me so much already, and I don't want to burden them with my problems. I also try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. That there are others who are facing the same struggles, maybe even worse. It helps to remember that I'm part of a bigger picture, that I'm not just one isolated person drowning in debt. But it doesn't make it any easier. I wish I could find a way to break free from this cycle, but the future feels uncertain, blurry. So, I get up every morning and do what I have to do. I go to work, keep my head down, and try not to think about the next bill coming in. I've learned to live with the tension, the worry, the uncertainty. Maybe that's the trick, to keep going, even when it feels impossible. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I tell myself that if I keep pushing, maybe one day things will change. Until then, I'll hold on to the small moments. Maybe that's all I can do. I wake up to the dull hum of my phone's alarm, its obnoxious beeping pulling me out of a dream I can't even remember. It's 6:30 a.m., and I've already hit snooze 3 times, hoping I could somehow delay the inevitable. The bills. The rent. The constant crunch of numbers in the back of my mind. But they don't wait, and neither does my job. So, I drag myself out of bed, still exhausted from yesterday's grind, and shuffle to the kitchen. The coffee maker sputters to life as I stare blankly at the countertop, trying to organize my thoughts. I'm 27, and I've always thought by this point I'd have more figured out. But everything feels off track. I've got a degree in marketing, but my job is one of those entry-level positions with no real future. It doesn't pay much, and I can't even afford to move to a nicer apartment, even though the walls here feel like they're closing in on me. The rent went up last month, just like it did the month before, and the month before that. Every month, another email notification about a slight increase in rent from my landlord. It's like they know I'm barely hanging on, but the hikes just keep coming. I never understood what cost of living increases meant until I had to live through them. Now, it's a cruel joke, a constant reminder that I can't keep up. As I pour my coffee, the weight of it all settles deeper in my chest. I check my bank account. Enough for rent, but that's it. It's been like this for months. Every paycheck is already spent before it even hits my account. And then there's the student loan payment, another black hole. Some days, I wonder if I'll ever get out of it. The interest keeps piling up, and I barely made a dent in the principal. But I have no choice, no other option. I pay it, and I get by. But getting by isn't the same as living, is it? I've learned how to stretch $1 further than I ever thought possible. I cancel subscriptions I barely use. No more eating out or grabbing coffee at the cafe. I've become a master of cheap meals, rice and beans, pasta with canned tomatoes, eggs. The staples. It's funny, when I was younger, I thought I'd be able to live a more vibrant, adventurous life as an adult. I imagined spontaneous trips to new places, nights out with friends, enjoying my independence. But those things feel like distant dreams now, tucked away in some fantasy world that's out of reach. I can't remember the last time I did something just for fun, something that wasn't tied to some form of self-care that felt more like self-sabotage. At work, I try to keep up the appearance that everything's fine. I smile and chat with coworkers, pretending I don't feel the weight of my financial worries crushing me every second. Some days, I get through the hours by scrolling through job boards, hoping for a miracle, something that'll pay more, something that'll allow me to breathe again. But the job market feels like a joke. Everything I qualify for pays just a little more than what I'm already making, but not enough to make a difference. I apply anyway. I think about how long I'd been in this cycle, graduated, looking for a career, stuck in a job I don't love, scrambling to stay afloat. The hardest part isn't just the money, though. It's the constant emotional strain. The shame. The self-doubt. There's this voice in my head that keeps whispering, you should be doing better. You should be further along by now, it's impossible not to compare myself to others, people I went to school with, friends who seem to have it all figured out. They're posting their vacations, their new homes, their promotions. Meanwhile, I'm counting pennies and hoping I don't get hit with another unexpected bill. I've had to cancel plans more times than I can count. Sorry, I can't afford it, has become my default response. It's not that I don't want to hang out with my friends, but when every dollar feels like it's been earmarked for something essential, socializing just isn't an option. There's this loneliness that comes with it, a feeling of being left behind, of being excluded not just from experiences, but from the sense of freedom that others seem to have. I can't help but wonder if they even understand how fortunate they are to not have to worry every single day about where the money will come from to cover the basics. I try not to let it get to me, but some days are harder than others. I look at my old dreams, the ones I had when I was younger. Travel the world, start my own business, be financially independent. But every time I reach for them, I'm pulled back into the reality of my bank account. I've had to put so many things on hold. The business I dreamed of starting? It's just a pipe dream now, a maybe someday that I keep shelving for later. The trips? I just scroll through pictures online, wishing I could experience them for real. Every day feels like a negotiation with myself, sacrificing little joys now so I can hopefully survive until the next paycheck. Sometimes, I feel like I'm running on empty. I've gotten so used to stress that it's become my default state. I know it's affecting my health, my sleep is poor, my anxiety is through the roof, and I'm always on edge. I try to do things that help, meditating, going for walks, journaling, but it all feels so fragile, like I'm just holding the pieces of myself together with duct tape. I've learned to fake it, to smile when I feel like breaking, to say I'm fine even though I'm anything but. The hardest part is that I don't even know how this ends. Every day, I wonder if I'm ever going to get out of this financial hole. If I'll ever stop feeling like I'm drowning. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, that there's no shame in being in this position. But the shame still lingers. It whispers that I should be doing better, that I should have figured this out by now. I try to hold on to hope. I tell myself that someday things will change. That if I keep pushing, if I keep working, if I keep fighting, I'll finally break free from this cycle. But it's hard to feel optimistic when every step forward feels like it's followed by 2 steps back. For now, all I can do is keep going, even though it feels like I'm barely holding on. The future is uncertain, but maybe, just maybe, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And if I can make it through today, maybe tomorrow will be a little better. Maybe. But for now, I get dressed, grab my coffee, and face another day of grinding through a world that seems to grow more expensive and less forgiving with every passing moment. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.